We're living in a time period where it's not even a joke anymore to say, when did we step into the Twilight Zone? The Twilight Zone has become reality. Science fiction has become science fact. And people are asking questions now. I saw this the other day. I think it's a good introduction to what I'm about to talk about. Somebody just posted this. Okay, so paranoid schizophrenia about the government always watching you used to be a mental illness. Now it's just a realistic understanding of how the world works, right? I mean, that's a question that is being seriously asked about our society in 2019. And I had just retweeted that out yesterday thinking, wow, that's a milestone. And today I saw this. They're fully admitting now that they have technology which can transmit audio directly into your ears from a distance without anyone else around you knowing that it's happening to you. So they can put voices in your head, and they're admitting it now. This is technology that's been around on record since at least the 70s, and they've always kind of denied that it's true, and they've made people who claim they're targeted by such technology sound like crazy lunatics who have schizophrenia or mental problems or something like that. But now in 2019, well, this is going to be commercially viable tech that they're going to try and find a reason why we need to have such a thing and say that it's all good. And this is in futurism.com, but it's based on a press release that came out of Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They used a laser to transmit audio directly into someone's ears. And it says, scientists have figured out how to use a laser to transmit audio ranging from music to speech to a person across a room without any receiver equipment. It says, our system can be used from some distance away to beam information directly into someone's ear. MIT researcher Charles M. Wynn said in a press release, it is the first system that uses lasers that are fully safe for the eyes and skin to localize an audible signal to a particular person in any setting. And they published a paper in the Journal of Optic Letters, and they describe how they have two different methods to transmit tones, music, and recorded speech to a person's ears directly via a laser. It says the technique allowed them to transmit sound to a person more than 8 feet away at a volume of 60 decibels, which is about the loudness of background music or a conversation in a restaurant, without anyone between the source of the sound and the target hearing it. So if this was going on and you were sitting in a room, someone 8 feet away is beaming words into your mind, you're hearing voices. If you don't know that's happening to you, you're just going to suddenly think you've got schizophrenia and you've gone insane because you're going to just suddenly be hearing voices and nobody else around you is going to hear it. And so no one else is going to know what's going on and you'll just look like an insane person. And I just want to point this out because, like I said before, they act like they haven't had this for a really long time. But it quietly came out back in the 70s that they were using pulsed microwaves to do this to people in military laboratories. And one such book is this one, Microwave Auditory Effects and Applications by James C. Lynn. This came out in 78, but it's talking about a paper from 75. I mean, these are not things that were widely released to the public. Oh, hey, by the way, military's figured out how to do this. They just quietly put it in the middle of a very dense science book that probably hardly anybody was even reading or had a copy of at the time. But it talks about how direct communication of speech via appropriate modulation of microwave energy has been demonstrated by Sharp and Grove. They tape recorded each of the single syllable words for digits between 1 and 10. So they counted between 1 and 10 and taped themselves saying it. And then the speech wave forms of each word were converted to digital signals in a fashion, and they radiated themselves with this speech modulated microwave energy, and they were able to hear and identify and distinguish the words just simply by being radiated with the microwave energy. But it goes on to say that communication of more complex words and full sentences wasn't attempted because at that time, the power density that would be required to transmit those messages would have exceeded the safety guide for radiation exposure. Of course, I've already done videos on how that is a joke in this country anyway, but not the point. They claimed they didn't go further with it because they didn't want to mess with the safety limit. You can choose to believe that if you want to, but obviously research on this did not stop because then by 1989, you had a patent get awarded with a seemingly benign, boring title that no one would really pay attention to, hearing device. The patent, if you read the abstract, says it's a method and apparatus for simulation of hearing in mammals by introduction of a plurality of microwaves into the region of the auditory cortex. By this method, sounds are perceived by the mammal, which are representative of the original sound received by the microphone, which is a really arduous way of just straight up saying they were able to talk into a microphone and beam it into the heads of quote-unquote mammals. And obviously they're talking about a person, because this is the head of, obviously looks like the head of a human being down here in the drawing, being beamed with microwave radiation. Doesn't look like just any mammal. It's a person, so they can just being really vague and ridiculous in their language. But basically, this is what came to be known as voice-to-skull technology. And now we live in a world where they're just openly admitting they have this now. And they're going to use lasers now to do this. So this is totally full-on military technology, and they're going to try and push it into the public domain and make it justifiable that we would have what could essentially be used as a torture device to make people think they're going insane by hearing voices in their head from a distance where no one around them can even pick up on it. I mean, it sounds like a science fiction nightmare come true. And here, listen to this justification they say here in this article. It says, they believe further research will allow them to scale up the transmission device, which would make the technique useful in dangerous situations, such as during a mass shooting, where authorities could beam instructions directly to individuals without anyone else hearing them. Really? That's the justification for having such a device, is so that the authorities can beam instructions directly into people's heads. That doesn't sound like a slippery slope that could be misused in 1,000+ different other ways. Give me a break. But I guess people are going to be willing to accept that intrusion because it's for your safety, right? It's for your security. So everyone's willing to trade their freedom inside their own brain for the security of that. And obviously there's no way that could be abused, right? I mean, how naive are they going to pretend to be about this? I mean, how many different ways can this technology be used in a positive way versus how many different ways can this technology be abused in a evil villain in a science fiction movie kind of way? I mean, it doesn't take an MIT researcher to ask that question. We hope that this will eventually become a commercial technology, researcher Ryan M. Sullenberger said. There are a lot of exciting possibilities, and we want to develop the communication technology in ways that are useful. Yeah, you do? Useful to whom? Okay? That would be my question. This is what... I'm just thinking of 7 years of targeted individuals contacting us with their stories that all sound horrifying, and you can never tell if what they're saying to you is real, it seems real enough to them, or if they're just insane. Well, guess what? This technology exists, and they're just now deciding they're going to widespread announce it to the public. So when people say things like, paranoid schizophrenia about the government always watching you used to be a mental illness, but now it's just a realistic understanding of how the world works, that's not even a question. That's just a statement of fact. I think the Twilight Zone was really just getting us all ready to live in the reality they are now presenting us with.